It's time to acknowledge the Tribal Chief. I'm John Renton with my review of WWE Evil, Episode 8 on Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief, the head of the table. Whatever you want to call him, he certainly is one of the most polarizing, but yet one of the biggest WWE superstars of the last number of years. Through trials and tribulations, health scares, and all kinds of things, Roman Reigns has certainly achieved a whole lot. And it's been quite the journey. And this episode may have actually been the best of the bunch. Even though there were good aspects of the other episodes, they put a lot of effort into this one. It's not shocking considering that Roman Reigns is the guy in WWE, the hand-picked successor to John Cena by Vince McMahon. And, well, it was quite the journey. I'm going to say that a few times during this. There were times I was reflecting, thinking, wow, I really booed Roman Reigns a little bit too hard. I really kind of feel bad. I mean, yes, he's playing a wrestling character, but I took my anger and frustration towards his booking and everything a little bit too far sometimes. There are a couple other things that I didn't do that some other fans had all addressed during this, but yeah, there's no smoke and mirrors with me. Cody Rhodes shakes in anger, angry American Nightmare noises. Curse you! I don't know why Cody Rhodes became Mojo Jojo from the Powerpuff Girls. And great respect to him, but Hulk Hogan doesn't work in 2022. He's not wrong, especially given all the racism and all the bullshit, and how Hogan hates the brothers, brother. So, even The Undertaker, his time had come and gone. And he seems to revel in getting the hate and everything after years of being kind of force-fed as the clean-cut guy. And even when they tried to give him an edge, the fans had already made up their mind about how Roman Reigns was going to be perceived and how they perceived him. And no amount of shit was going to change that until they finally listened and turned him heel. Shock. If they had done that years and years earlier. So his desire to be the best that ever was to do this, the best that there ever was, the best that there ever will be. Oh, wait, no, that's Brett. Had to do that right there. Where how much I butchered that goddamn catchphrase. He's not playing a character. I am that character, he says. The crowds did not embrace him for a while, for a good while. The legacy of the Samoan family goes back years. The Wild Samoans, often Sika, Yokozuna, Rikishi, the Usos, so many others. It would have taken probably 3 years to talk about all the Samoan dynasty. Actually, it probably would have made the episode 90 minutes to go into all the stuff, the family tree that has a whole lot of branches, and it's its own goddamn small forest, or maybe even a rainforest at this point, because there's a lot of Samoans by proxy that have been in wrestling all over the world. And well, his football dreams, playing in high school, playing at Georgia Tech, he had success. He went to Minnesota Vikings training camp and then got his blood work back, and it turned out that he had leukemia. His football dreams were dashed. My God, and I can only imagine how it is to get that diagnosis, especially at any age, especially in the prime, when it seems like you're going to just start hitting a big stride and succeeding. That was put on ice. He started to get better. His vitals were getting better and everything. He didn't know what he was going to do. Saw the Usos on Florida Championship Wrestling TV, precursor to NXT, and said, well, okay, let me see if I can do this. And I can't necessarily say whether he was or wasn't enamored with wrestling, but it was something his family did, and he, as far as an athlete, was a natural at it. The early days were promising as far as his size. You look at Roman Reigns. One of the creative guys says, we used to joke that Vince McMahon could clone or create a WWE superstar in a lab. It would look like Roman Reigns, because you look at him, he's 6'4", 6'5", 260. He looks great. He's got the body, he's got the size, he's got everything that Vince McMahon would want to push to the goddamn moon. And he does have a great look. And they even showed some of the stuff in NXT, like the early days of NXT, just before he got brought up as part of the Shield. He's in a suit. What time is it? It's Roman Reigns time. This was the heel stuff they could have done right after the Shield. They could have just done that. And not even a complete 180, just turn it a little bit. Turn it a little bit so you can see just how dominant he was. And they didn't do it. The debut of the Shield at Survivor Series 2012 is the best way to use Roman because compared to Ambrose, who had been working, independents and stuff like that, and occasional shots for minor league companies and doing deathmatch stuff and whatever, he had achieved some notoriety, but he had had years of experience. Seth Rollins, however, had more years of experience as Tyler Black in Ring of Honor. Narrowly avoided going to TNA in 2010. Thank you very much, Jim Cornette, for preventing him from doing that. He went to Florida Championship Wrestling and was rebranded Seth Rollins. They were made the Shield, but Roman was the powerhouse. You had Ambrose, the nut job. Seth was the wrestler. Roman was the cleanup guy, the heavy hitter, the guy that you would bring in to take down the monster, take down anybody, pound people down, smash them, stack them, get head at the table, as it were. And Rikishi mentioned how Joe was going to be the guy. And he was going to be the next Hogan, Cena, etc. And, how the Shield ran roughshod through all this. But it was obvious that Joe Anoa'i, Roman's real name, I feel weird saying that, but he said a number of times in this, I'll just quote it from them. He was going to be chosen when they decided to break up the Shield, right after the Shield had beaten Evolution in 2 straight pay-per-view matches. Oh, there's always a plan B, and you can hear somebody in the crowd, no, and Roman gets hit with a chair, Ambrose gets hit with a chair, and that's it. And he wasn't instantly pushed as the face. Like, people can say that, but it took a bit. And here's why I say it took a bit. They played around with the timeline a little bit. Because he faced off against, I believe, Randy Orton at SummerSlam 2014. And it was a good match. A little slow. Okay, a lot slow. Methodactyl. But it showed promise where Roman is working with a veteran and doing some good stuff. Then he had an incarcerated hernia, I believe, and had to take some time off to get that addressed. And came back. And then they had decided they were going to really, really push him as the guy. We get to the 2015 Rumble, but right before that, Daniel Bryan comes back, and they want to see Daniel Bryan win that Rumble and go on to Mania 31. They skipped over the 2014 Rumble, where he was facing Batista in the final 2, and they were starting to chant Roman, because they didn't want Batista to win, because they wanted Daniel Bryan to win. I retro-reviewed both of those. The 2014 Rumble, which, oh boy, once Rey Mysterio came out at number 30 and the fans realized there's nobody else, we're going to boo Rey, we're going to boo everybody, we're going to boo the people to put this arena together. Boos forever. And then boos at the 2015 Rumble. Where they oh god, they fucking dieseled him right when they decided to, right around the 2015 Rumble. They made him the smiling, happy guy, suffering succotash, all that. I think it was later in 2015. But they made him this ridiculous cartoon version when all you had to do was give him an edge. Now, I'm not saying that fans wouldn't have had a backlash. I would have had a backlash because there were certain people, Daniel Bryan in particular, and others, looking back on it, it's probably a good thing. They went with Roman because Bryan has issues that he had to get addressed medically. And now he's absolutely killing it, has been killing it for the last number of years, like he did up until 2016. But Roman being presented the way he was, they did the same thing with Ultimate Warrior after he beat Hulk Hogan at Mania 6. They got to the point where they changed everything about them. Making them kid-friendly isn't the worst thing. You can have somebody be a hero to kids while also maintaining an edge. You can do it. Vince just didn't want to do it. He wanted to ride out the whole thing with Cena, like he did with Cena. The 2015 Rumble, Rock comes in and makes the save after Roman wins. Rock's raising his hand every time. They cheered The Rock because it's The Rock. I mean, how are you not going to cheer The Rock at this point, or even at that point? But he raises Roman's hand, and he's like this. He's like this, and they're booing, and he's like confused. He's ready to freaking just lose it. If you can find, and I don't know if WWE has it on their YouTube channel, the post-match of The Rock backstage with Roman talking about the crowd reaction, you can see he is ready to explode. He's ready to rip them apart. He is absolutely ready. Like, oh yeah, the fan is all the, this kind of stuff. And he's trying to put on a smiling face, so you could just see it in his eyes. He was mad. Because he was sent out there, he's like, how dare you boo me? How dare you boo me? You can't. Don't boo me. I'm right. But yeah, 2015 Rumble, let's say emotions were high, shall we say. That the reactions hurt him. And of course they would hurt him. They'd hurt anybody at that point. The fans basically were tired of Roman. He got championship match after championship match. Mania 33 was a no-win situation. He beat The Undertaker in a main event that wasn't very good because Undertaker wasn't in good shape. Brock had already beaten the streak a few years prior. Roman had been anointed the guy before, but especially at Mania 32 in a match versus Triple H in a main event that I'm sure is still going on in some alternate universe. That Mania would never goddamn end. That was 6.5 hours or so. That was abysmal. But Vince, the creative mind talks about the crowd reactions to Cena and Vince writing it out. It would work. Don't get me wrong. Kids liked Roman. Women liked Roman. Because how could you not like Roman? There were, several guys that liked Roman. But a vocal portion of the audience, myself included, was booing Roman. And then the next night, huge boos. 10 minutes straight. And I remember watching that. With my best friend, Chris, aka the Durbinator. If you're a longtime fan, then longtime viewer of this channel, you know who I'm talking about. If you're a new viewer, go back and check out some of the stuff in 2018, 2019, that kind of stuff. But just watching it, and this is my yard now. They skip over Mania 34. They skip over the Braun Strowman feud right after Mania 33. I'm not finished with you. They skip over when Brock beat him at Mania 34. Anyway, I don't really think that should have happened. In retrospect, they should have just put the goddamn title on Roman there. Because he does win it at SummerSlam 2018. The thunderous boos, huge boos. And then this is where I felt bad. Because I was sick of Roman. I was sick of the presentation. Wasn't sick of the guy. Sick of the presentation. Hoping that Braun would cash in and win the Universal Championship and stuff like that. And then you could have him win it from Braun. But the whole idea was that Brock had to drop it to Roman. 2 months later, he comes out on Raw. It's October 22nd, 2019. My name is Joanna Y.E. and I've been living with leukemia for 11 years. And just, you could have not sucked the air out of a room. Sucked the life out of a room, I guess might have not been the best way to say it. But you couldn't have taken all the energy out of the room right there. Complete shift. Because this is real life. Beating leukemia once is tough in itself. Beating it twice, regardless of how great of an athlete or whatever you are, that completely shifted. And I'm like, no. Well, it was actually 22nd, 2018. I apologize for the date. I got the date wrong. Realized I said 2018 or 2019, I mean. But I'm like, no. I didn't want to see that. I didn't want him as champion. I didn't want it that way. Quote the Matrix, not that way. But this isn't a goodbye speech or a retirement speech. He'll beat it. And he did. 4 months later, came back. Huge reaction on Raw, late February 2019. I'm in remission, y'all. Boom! They threw babies in the air. They threw everything in the air. It was great. Because it was just nice that he was in remission. Whether he came, obviously he was going to come back at some point. But he was in remission. He has children, has a wife, he has his family to take care of. That's what matters. He's going to be okay. And then at Mania 35 versus Drew, the crowd starts booing again. Because, of course, they are. Like, okay, we can go back to booing the character. But it seemed to be with more vitriol this time. Like, okay, yeah, you beat it, but you're the same guy. We're going to boo you. It's a tough pill to swallow, Roman says. And then when they skipped over a lot of the stuff in 2019. Pandemic hit just before Mania 36, which still is ongoing, by the way. We need to, as we get out of this stuff, Spanish flu 2020 to 2022, electric Spanish boogaloo. Electric flubaloo. No, really can't say that. Let's just talk about the fact that Roman took 4 months off. Because he had he just had the leukemia diagnosis, and Vince McMahon was being a goddamn jackass when it came to testing and masks and all this kind of stuff. And look at some of the people they employed. They had to fire and everything. Drake Wirtz, who really was the worst referee. He comes back at SummerSlam when The Fiend and Braun had their match, and he spent time in his home gym over these 4 months thinking he has to do things his way. And that's what he did. He got Heyman as his, as the counsel for the tribal chief. Heyman talks about his, brief history, and they got to do an episode on Heyman at this point for season 2. I almost think they have to do a season 2, and if they do one, Heyman's got to be on there. I wish they could get Cornette. I really wish they could get Cornette board, because Cornette was a great villain, and I always tie them together because it was a failed capitalization on the Midnight versus original Midnight feud, but I will push that to the side for later. Heyman talks about how when he snuck into Madison Square Garden pretending to be a member of the press, often Sika saw something in him and made sure he was protected. And then the feud with Jey Uso and this kind of stuff. Cousin on cousin action, which I usually have to go to a different kind of website to see. And I realize I should have said something different. Other than that, always delete your search history. So that he came into his own in the Thunderdome. I think it was, even though the Thunderdome it played out way, way too long. It got really annoying with the crowd sweetening. He was able to hone his craft basically on a set, and that he has his family to provide for, and that he faced Cena 2020, SummerSlam 2021, and Roman Reigns is the people who, or is the person people love to hate because he'll steal your girlfriend, there's nothing you can do about it, all that. And Roman says right now nobody can touch him, and maybe in 20 or 30 years they can break this mold again, but not while he's here. And they really were pushing for Roman versus The Rock. They're really pushing for that. They're going to do it at next Mania. I think Rock is going to clear his schedule, and they're going to do that. Because if Vince can throw $12 million a year at Bork, you don't think he's going to throw just about that at Rock to do one more match? I mean, Rock won't do it for cheap. He may do it for less than $12 million, but Vince will come up with an insane amount of money. They got the Saudi deal, they got the TV deals, they got that kind of stuff, even though TV deals are going to be coming up sometime next year, I believe next year or 2024. The whole point is, they're going to find a way to do Roman versus Rock. It's not going to be good, because Rock is 50 or 51 at this point, and is the biggest Hollywood star that there is, or at least one of. And Roman, he may say that he's going to keep it, or we're just getting started. I cannot see Roman wrestling past another few years. I think that, one, he's made enough money. He will get into Hollywood. What else does he have left to do? As of this recording, this is just before Mania weekend, he is in the midst of a record-breaking Universal Championship run. If he beats Brock and holds it to SummerSlam, that'll be 2 years. It's going to get to the point where what else can he do? What mountains does he have left to conquer? So, we'll see what happens. That being said, one of the best episodes, easily the best episode of this season, and one of the best productions WWE has done in a while. Sure, there's some whitewashing and some historical inaccuracies, sure, but it was good to hear from Roman. Agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.